Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Stamp and Chat with Gina K. I am so excited to be here and so excited to see so many of you already here from all over the world on both YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. So tonight's topic is about self-care. And boy, you would think because so many of us are safer at home or safe at home, that we would have a little bit more time for self-care. But I know a lot of you out there are just like me and you're not really taking care of yourself, right? I know that I'm not. Haven't been. I've been running around a lot doing things, and I've been actually going back and forth to work to ship orders out. And I myself doing long days and not really doing the things that maybe I should for my own health. And I think some of you are the same way. We're all kind of the same in that we try to take care of everybody else. And then if we're not taking care of everybody else, we're thinking about how we can take care of everyone else. So I'm going to start tonight with a quote that I found that I think is the perfect way to start. And the way I'm going to start is with this. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean me first. It means me too. And when I read that, I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So some of the things that I am going to be trying to work on in the upcoming week is, number one, and I don't know if any of you guys do this, but number one, I am going to try to eat for energy, not comfort. I find myself going to the refrigerator. The refrigerator and I have been having quite a love affair since all of this started. And I think part of it is that, we're there, we're sitting around, we're watching TV, we're crafting, we're doing whatever. And it's just right there. When we're working, we really don't have that opportunity. So I'm going to try to eat for energy and not for comfort. One thing I do this every night, just about every night, is I take a bath. I really love the way it feels to fill up a tub with really hot water. I always put some Epsom salts in it, but usually some kind of nice fragrant Epsom salts. And I take a bath and I light a candle and I dim all the lights in the bathroom and I just lay there and I just kind of just let my mind clear. So that's something I think we could all do. Or maybe if you don't have a bathtub, maybe just take a nice hot shower, kind of relaxes you before you go to bed. And the other thing that I'm going to try to do is I am going to try to enjoy the small successes instead of looking at what has yet to be done. Especially right now, in my case, are trying to tackle all of the orders coming in. And we appreciate all of the orders so much because you guys are allowing us to continue to pay our staff, which is huge. But when there's a ton of orders in the system, we feel this pressure that we really want to get the orders out to you quickly, and we're not that good at it yet. Well, even if we are not that bad at it, we're just not enough people. It's the two of us versus our staff of, at any given time, we've got 20 different people on our staff. So I'm going to try to think a lot about, hey, today, here were the successes, and not think too much about what has to be done yet. And then I'm going to also try, and I think we could all try this, is just to take a worry vacation, if that makes sense. Like, you take a work vacation, right? You work and then you go on vacation and you leave work behind. I'm going to try to do that with worry. I'm going to try to take a vacation from my worries, even if it's just for a few hours. And yes, crafting really helps. I see a lot of you saying, yay, crafting really helps. I would just like to say hello to my friends. I saw a couple of comments. I guess tonight, Jennifer McGuire, Christina Werner, Kathy Rakusin, and Sherry Carroll are all watching together in a Zoom meeting. So hi, my friends. It's so nice to know that you're out there. Kathy Z, and so many of my other friends. But I am just thrilled to see each and every one of you. So tonight, it's Merry Monday. I did not find my Santa hat, so I think I'm going to have to order one, or maybe an elf hat for next week. And somebody asked me earlier, are you going to be wearing your wig under your Santa hat? And soon, really soon, it's coming. I really had to fight with my hair today to get it to do anything. So tonight we're going to make a couple of Christmas cards. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to make your own pattern paper background. And I have something that I thought of 5 minutes before the broadcast aired. And I'm going to give it a try live. I've never seen anybody do it quite like this. I'm going to give it a try and we'll see if it works. And if it does, I'm really excited because this is going to even be easier than the way I taught you to do it before. Okay, so the stamp set that I'm going to use, let me switch to my overhead camera. So the stamp set that I'm going to use is this stamp set, and this is called Christmas Wishes. And this also has a coordinating die set, and I'm going to be using the dies as well. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever gotten a stamp set or a die set by Gina K Designs. We have these thick, and I'm telling you, these are thick, magnetic storage boards, and our dies are already detabbed, so they're not stuck together, so they're ready to use right out of the package with no pointy edges, and they're already adhered to this thick magnet board. So these fit nicely in your stamp pockets with your stamps, and you can put them all together and keep everything conveniently located in one space. So I'm going to be using that set tonight, and then I think I'm going to use a greeting from the Merry and Bright set, but of course you can use any stamp set that you want, and as long as you have maybe a little critter stamp, a little frame stamp, and a Christmas greeting, you'll be good to go. And I know you guys have tons of stamps like that in your collection already. Okay, so I'm going to start by making a background, and I am going to make a square card for this. I got hooked on square cards because we started talking about wreath building again, and so I got excited about square cards. Now, I'm going to be using the colors Lovely Lavender, I'm going to be using Ocean Mist, and I'm going to be using Soft Stone. And these are really beautiful colors, but they can be a little bit darker than I want them to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp them all off once because I want this background to be super subtle. I'm going to start with the biggest snowflake here, and I'm going to use one of our comfort blocks. This is our round comfort block, and it's got a grid on top, a full grid, and it's got these rounded edges, so there's no sharp edges on this one. This one is sold separately. All right, so I'm going to get the largest snowflake, and that one's going to be Soft Stone. But even Soft Stone, as light as it is, it's still a little bit darker than I want it to be. So as I stamp this, I'm going to stamp off once, and then I'm going to stamp it. And that gives me that real soft, subtle snowflake. Stamp it off once, and then stamp it again. And you can see when I stamp it off, I'm actually holding it onto the cardstock for a minute to make sure the ink transfers. Especially with clear stamps, sometimes all of the ink won't transfer, and then you'll have a big blotchy spot. So we don't want that. So there, I'm going to do one in each of the four corners. And I always start in the middle, and then I do my four corners. And that gives me a more even background to start with. And then you can kind of follow along in that pattern, and it really does make your background look more even. So now I'm going to go to my next snowflake, and that one, I'm going to go with this bigger one. And let's see, I'm going to make this one Ocean Mist. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stamp off once. And stamp. So my friends out there are, is Heidi there? Or is Heidi busy? I know Heidi, my friend Heidi, who owns Simon Says Stamp, she is very busy right now doing tons of things with her children. And so I don't know if she had an opportunity to join tonight, but she's usually here. She always stops by. Okay, so now I just added those snowflakes into that area. And then I'm going to find one more snowflake. I'm going to use this tiny snowflake right here, this little one. These are very, very delicate. And I'm going to use my lovely lavender. Now this one is a very light color, so I'm just going to use it straight. If I was using lemon drop, I'd probably use it straight. I'm going to fill into those 4 corners right there. And then I'm going to go outward a little bit. And this gives me nice even pattern. And I really like that because sometimes if I just start in a weird spot and I don't start in the middle, it just doesn't look filled in right. And this makes it look a little bit more filled in. Okay, so there's my background. Now here's my technique that I want to try. So you guys know that I always make a little template for my die cutting. I like to make a template because I like my die to cut very evenly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a template. Let me put this block back here. Okay, there we go. I'm going to make a template first using this die right here. This is the little reindeer that I'm going to use in my stamp, in my card. And I'm going to cut this out using my Spellbinders die cutting machine. I'm going to do it over here so that you guys don't have to see the struggle. Plus I end up running it into my computer that's in front of me. So I'm just going to do this way, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make a template out of a piece of turquoise sea cardstock. So I'm just going to put the die right in the middle there, and I'm going to cut it. Actually, I'm going to cut it closer to the edge. I don't need to waste the whole piece. So I'm going to cut that. All right. I'm really hoping this works. If not, you'll know exactly what not to do. I just have a problem lining dies up and making them perfect all the time. So I like to use a template. Okay, so I have the little reindeer cut out there. And then I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and I'm going to cut out another reindeer. All right. I'm silently praying. I don't know why I would try this live, but you know. Okay, so now I have 2. I have a reindeer cut out and ready to stamp on. So now what I'm going to do here, let me get this out of the way, and then I will bring in my overhead. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my MISTI. And I'm going to get a piece of white cardstock, and I'll put it right up here in the top. And then I'm going to get the reindeer stamp, and I'm going to stamp it. I'm going to use a little black onyx ink for this. Now, depending on what you're going to color with, you can use the amalgam ink. I am going to use Copic markers, so it doesn't really matter. I can use black onyx or amalgam. I'm going to use black onyx for this just because it dries pretty quickly. All right, so I'm stamping that. There we go. Okay. So now, I'm going to just tape this down so it doesn't move. And now I can cut a million reindeer out. Just a million blank reindeer. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this down a little bit because I made it a little too big. But I'm going to lay this just like that. Actually, let me cut this off. So I'm going to lay it perfectly here like this so that it lines up exactly where I want it. See how I have the nice white edges all around? And then I'm going to tape this down. Because trying to tape the die in there and run it through the die cutting machine like I usually do, sometimes it still shifts. But this should work. Let's hope. So now I'm going to lay this die cut piece right in there. And I'm going to ink it up again, and I'm going to say a prayer. Give me a minute. And then I'm going to stamp it. It worked. Yay! That's so exciting. That is so much easier. Oh my goodness, that is so much easier than the way I was doing it before. I'm never going to not do it this way. I'm just going to keep this. This is going to just go in with the stamp set, actually. This little template. It's just going to go right in with the stamp set, into the package, die. It's all going to stay there, and that's going to be my little template. Oh, I love it. Yay. I'm so glad it worked. That would have really been not fun if it didn't work. Okay, so I'm going to clean that, and then I'm going to move on to the next part of the card. So now I'm going to try it again with the frame. The frame is a little more tricky because the frame is big. It's a big stamp. Let's see, it's a big stamp. And that will cut out this frame here, this stamp set. So I'm going to cut out, let's see, I need a piece of cardstock to do that. Let me grab a piece. Sorry, I'm out of the steam. Let's see. I will grab another piece of turquoise sea and cut it real quickly. And then I'm going to cut this frame out. What's nice about this frame is it's a pretty even frame. So it's not like you've seen me struggle with flowers where I keep turning the die and it just, you know, takes me forever to figure out where to line it up. This is a pretty even frame. So kind of lines up pretty evenly. So I'm going to cut out this little template. I should have done this before, but I didn't know if it was going to work. And it did. Okay. So now I'm going to need to cut a white one. No, I'm going to cut an ocean mist one because I'm going to do this frame on ocean mist. So let me cut out another one. And it should just drop in there. And if it doesn't, at least I'll know that it's not going to be right because I will have to twist it until I find the right spot. I'm so excited right now. I can't even stand it. I want to make templates for every single die I have. Y'all have to try that tonight and let me know how it works for you because it really felt a lot easier than my old method. Okay, just drop the die. I'll be back. Got it. Okay. So now I'm going to move this out of the way and I'm going to stamp my frame. And I'm going to stamp my frame in a, let's see, I'm going to stamp it in a piece of cardstock here that fits. That should fit. I'm going to have to trim that really far down though. Well, I could maybe stamp it low. Let me try that. I'll try to stamp it kind of low and see if that works. I should use a bigger piece of cardstock, but as long as I kind of throw it in there close, right around there. Okay, that should work. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this in a color. Let's try, we'll do Wild Wisteria. I just don't want to stamp it in black because I am going to use my Versamark pad. And for some reason, Versamark, if you ever need to get black ink off of a stamp, use it on your Versamark because it seems to be like the world's greatest stamp cleaner. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this frame. Okay, get it back in there. And now I'm going to line this up. I'm going to have to cut this closer. Why not? It doesn't even matter. It's not like it needs a lot of room. I'm going to cut it really close. Cutting, cutting. Self-care. I think the hardest one of those things for me, though, is the eating. I really like to eat. Food is like, I really enjoy food. I'm Italian though. I grew up Italian, and like that's love. Food is love. So you gotta break that thought process too. Okay, so I'm gonna tape that down. And now let me clean the stamp and get the the Wild Wisteria out of the way. And now I'm gonna drop this into this. Okay, see, it fits. It wasn't hard to get it in there. Before I do that, let me pull this back out. I'm going to use my embossing magic pad because I am going to use Versamark on this one. But just think how you could quickly mass produce stuff just by dropping pieces in and stamping. Oh, I'm excited. Can't wait to do more. All right, so I'm going to use my Versamark pad. I'm going to pray again because you never know how things can possibly shift. Okay, here we go. I don't know. Might have shifted. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to get my white embossing powder. Are you like me? Is it like a disaster in your room every time you stamp? It takes like no time at all for it to become a complete disaster for me. All right. That's pretty good because honestly, even when I think I get it right on, it doesn't really look as right on as this does. Okay. So I'm going to get that out of the way. And then I'm going to use my heat tool. And I'm going to try not to set my nail polish on fire. Not that that's ever happened. I really need a clothespin. Go down this way. There we go. Turn it around. I have tweezers, but the metal, I'm afraid, is going to be a conductor of heat. So I think a wooden clothespin is the best. And I lost so many things when I moved into my new stamp room. I think they're all still at work. Oh my goodness, I'm getting a call. Let me decline that. Okay, I declined it. Seriously, I got a call. I clicked the little thing on my phone to ignore notifications, but I don't know. I need some Apple help. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right. So now I'm going to color and not, well, I'm not, oh, was that completely embossed there? I saw Corin Wiskman, actually, she did some of her embossing from the back of the cardstock, and that looked pretty cool. I need to try that, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to color this, and not very well, so I know Kathy Rakusin is full screen. Okay, so let's see, full screen. Here we go. Okay. That was Karen Hightower telling me full screen. Okay, so I'm going to color this, and not like my friend Kathy Rakusin, the way she does it, because she does it beautifully. I'm going to just do it my way. Let's see. I am going to start with, let's see what this color looks like. I'm just coloring straight color on here. No shading, no nothing. So sorry if you guys couldn't see some of that. I was just burning my fingers, so that's all you really missed. And then I'm going to color the little legs down just above the foot. So I'm going to leave that white. And I know this is probably a little harder to see because it's such a light gray, but you'll be able to see it better. I'll post the pictures over in our Facebook group. Okay. Let's see. Did somebody out there call me from Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Because I just got a call from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And now I'm going to just do some little cheeks. I know these are all no coloring things, but I'm going to do them anyway. And then I'm going to just lighten them up a little bit with the Copic blender. There we go. And then I'm going to color his scarf with B00. And the gray that I used was just C1. It's not real strong gray, very pale, very light. But I really want this to be a clean, light colored card. I don't want like, I know deer generally aren't gray, but it's card making, so you can do whatever you want. All right, let me find my snowflakes now. So now I have my snowflakes. And see how nice and light they are? I like that. And this is my last tape. I have to buy some tape when I go to work because this is my very last one. This is the ThermoWeb Sticky Dot Adhesive Runner, and then ThermoWeb makes my Sticky Dot Adhesive Runner, and I like it. Okay, so there's my background, and then I'm going to stamp my greeting right onto this here. So let me put this little thing away. I'm going to keep that for next time. This way, if I want to make 2 or 3 of these cards, all that work is done. And I'm going to just tape this right onto my Misty mat here. There we go. Now, the greeting that I'm going to use one from Merry & Bright because I want the greeting to be small and up top. And I really don't see a greeting on this stamp set that I want to use. But I'm going to make a second card, so I will be able to use some of the greetings in that as well. And I would just like to take a moment to welcome all of you here tonight. I see so many of you out there, and I'm so happy to have you all here with me. Okay, so I'm going to use Merry & Bright, and I'm going to use black, and that'll just kind of work with that little black layer that I just did. Okay, so I'll use black onyx on that, and I might have to stamp it twice, we'll see. Our colored cardstock is more like regular white cardstock. It's not quite as smooth as our white. If you haven't tried our white, you got to try it because it is seriously the smoothest cardstock ever. But our regular cardstock is still smooth, but I always like to stamp it twice on regular cardstock just to really make it solid. Just because it has a little bit more of a tooth to it, which is great for coloring. It's not as slick as our stamping cardstock, but it sometimes you can see the tooth in the first pass, so I give it a second pass. Okay, so now this, just rub those dots off there. This is going to go onto my card here. And I think I'll use some foam squares for that. But first, I'm going to put it onto a white card base. So that still has sticky dots on it. So this is a, I'm really digging this wide frame lately. So I've been making a lot of cards with it. So this actual size is let me check real quick, 3.5 by 3.5 square. And then the card base is 4.25 by 4.25 square. And that little, this is just 1/8 of an inch bigger. So it's 3 5/8 by 3 5/8. All right, so I'm going to use some foam squares on the back of this. I think I'll use 4 just to really hold it down. And I don't know what kind of glitter you guys use. I do like my loose glitter, but I also really like my little pens that I have in my collection at home. I love the Spectrum Sparkle pens, and I love the little Sakura Stardust pen. So I think I'll use that on his little scarf just to sparkle it up a little bit. Okay, so we'll put that right in the middle there. So this might be a really nice card for adding a gift card inside, maybe a little Starbucks card in there, or a little Visa gift card for somebody. So the Wink of Stella, that's what I was talking about. I like the Wink of Stella, but I also really like the Sakura Stardust, and they're both really, really nice. So I'm going to place him here so his little antlers kind of are near the end, and then I'll add a couple sequins in there. So I'm going to pop him up as well. Let's see, I'm going to cut a foam square in half because that's just going to be too much foam square. And I'll put that on his butt. So I think if I put that on his butt and then a little bit of tape on his head, then that will work really nicely. Maybe I'll put a little piece right here on his legs here as well. And then I'll put a little tape on his head, and that will attach his head down. Okay. All right. And then that will just go right there. And then I'll add this. This is really hard to see. Even when I do my regular videos, it's really hard to see that sparkle. Especially depending on the kind of lights that you have when you're doing a video. And I have lights and everything is set up so that there's no glare, but unfortunately no glare and no sparkle kind of goes hand in hand. So I don't know if you can see that a little bit shining, maybe. I'll try to catch it in the photo, but if not, believe me that there's sparkle there. Okay, so now let's add some of these snowy sunrise, snowfall, snowy something. Can somebody tell me what these are called? These are the Gina K design sequins, and they really do look like the way the snow looks when the sun hits it. It's got this little bit, I don't know if you can see this, but it's got this little bit of an orangey kind of sunny glow to it, but they're white. So I like these. I also like disco ball. We're out of disco ball right now. But let me get a little thing here. Okay. So I'm going to put one here. My Connect Glue burped a little bit. I'll put one here. And then I'll just put one like right up here. You can put as many as you want. You can use rhinestones. You can use pearls. You can use anything. You don't even have to put bling on there if you don't want to. Stamp some snowflakes in there and just Versamark and give it a watermark look if you want. So I'm using the Marvy Jewel Picker for this. I know there's lots of pretty cool tools that do this. This is the one that I've been using for a while and I really like it. All right, so there's my little finished card. So I'll see if you can see it better on the other screen. I don't know if you can see it better here, but there it is. So my little square card is done. And welcome to anybody who's just joining me here. I just love to see all of you guys. I hope you guys are having a great Monday. Welcome to Merry Monday. We are making Christmas cards here, and we are using the Christmas Wishes stamp set. So I'll hold that up a little closer. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside so I can take a picture of it later. Let me clean up the disaster of a workspace here that I have. I'll tell you, I can really make a mess. Okay, so here's another little thought. Tonight's topic is taking care of yourself. Self-care is what I called it in my preview. And I started the night out with taking care of yourself doesn't mean me first. It means me too. And I'm sure a lot of the ladies out there and guys who are caregivers to somebody, you realize that maybe you consistently put yourself last. And that's not good. We've got to learn to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, because when we say yes to others, we have to make sure that we're not saying no to ourselves. And I tend to do that a lot. I have a really hard time saying no to people that I love because I want to do everything with everybody, and it's just not always possible. And your real friends will understand when you have to sometimes back out. Okay, so I have my Misty here, but I'm not going to use that right now. I'm going to use this. So bubble wrap. So I know that you guys, if you buy products from Gina K Designs, you know we're a little bit insane with the bubble wrap. Everything is bubble wrapped, and then everything is bubble wrapped inside the bubble wrap. And it's really just a bubble wrap popper's paradise when you get an order from us. So these are one of the bubble bags that we use, and we put things in here like ink cubes and ink pads and sometimes embossing powders and things. It just depends. But I brought one of them home, and I am going to use this to make a little background on my card. So I'm going to use some, here it is. I'm going to use some Sandy Beach because I'm going to do some gold embossing. And so Sandy Beach is actually a nice complementary color to the gold embossing powder. And I'm just using this just like I was inking up a big background stamp. Just inking that plastic all up. And then I'm going to lay my cardstock down on top. Let's see here. So I'm going to lay it down, try to get it nice and straight, or as straight as I can. Okay. And then I'm going to put a piece of cardstock on top of that. And I'm just going to rub my hands all over that. This is preventing me from getting inky because I'm going outside of the piece of cardstock, but I want to make sure that I get all the edges. So just like you would a background stamp. And if you guys have watched any of my videos, you know I like to ink my background stamps up on their back and just lay the cardstock on top. Okay, and so there is my background. Isn't that pretty? So if you have any bubble wrap, and it's got a really neat texture to it too. I don't know if you can see the texture in there, but it's really kind of fun. I often think I should make a background stamp like that, but why would anybody buy it when you just can use the bubble wrap that comes right in your order? Especially if you order cardstock, you get the big self-stick sheets. And those sometimes you can lay down and stick them right to your mat, and it's a paradise. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside for now because this is my card base. And by doing it that way, I don't have anything on the back, just on the front. All right, now I have a little piece here that I cut of white, and I have a little piece of gold cardstock. And I'm going to use my Misty for this. And I'm going to put the white piece of cardstock up there, but first I'm going to use a little bit of embossing magic. I swear there must be a hole. There is. Mine is coming apart, and it shoots. It's like I'm working in a bakery here. It's all over the place. All right. Okay, I'm going to start with my stamp, and everybody who has had this stamp set loves this tree. This was the tree that I was looking for the other night when I made those embossed resist cards, and I love this tree. It's so delicate. It's just so spiny, and I love how much detail there is. So I am going to use our fine detail white embossing powder, and I'm just making sure that I have that on there pretty straight. So this is going to be a very simple card. Let's just put the magnet there. Okay, so straight, yeah, looks pretty straight. Okay, so now I have to reposition my cardstock. And again, I'm going to use some Versamark for this. And this time I'm not using the white powder. I know you can't see me inking this up, but you know what it looks like to ink up a stamp. And then I'm going to stamp that. Right there. Okay. So now if I'm really fast, I can put my greeting there, but you know what? I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be fast enough and then I'm going to ruin everything. So now I'm going to get a piece of cardstock that's folded in half, and I'm going to get some of my fine detail gold embossing powder. This way I'm not going to lose any of the detail on this. So you can still see, get all that detail. And when I heat this embossing powder, because it's a fine detail powder, it's not going to swell up as much as regular embossing powder. And that's the big difference between the fine detail and the regular. It's how much it swells up when you heat it. So it's not going to swell up at all, really. It's just going to turn to solid gold, and I'm not going to lose any of that detail. And there's also like ultra thick embossing powders, and they're just the opposite. They swell up a lot. So you can use those kinds of powders for things like the cracked glass technique and other techniques. You can find all of those techniques on my YouTube channel. I've been doing videos for a very long time, and I think I have done just about every technique that's out there. Okay, so now I'm going to do my greeting, and I'm going to use the very delicate Merry Christmas greeting here, because I want this to be a traditional Christmas card. All right. That looks pretty good. Whew, it's kind of popped up there, so if I can just grab it, that looks good. Get that back into position. I'm going to use a tiny little bit more of this because I've touched it so much. Who knows what I got on there. And then back to Versamark again. Okay, now I'm going to stamp that. And I'm going to do the same gold that I did on the tree. So this will be very, very clean and simple. Okay, that's a little crooked, but that's okay. I'll angle the card in the picture and it won't look so crooked. And I'll send it to somebody that maybe doesn't see very well. I have a lot of people in my family like that. They don't notice my mistakes. Okay. Yes, look at that. Love it. Now, if you get any embossing powder where you don't want it, you can use a mono sand eraser once it dries. And sometimes you can just erase those little bits right off. Probably should wait till it dries a little more, or cools, I should say, not dries, cools. But you can see that got rid of that little speck. I don't know if that was visible on there, but it definitely got rid of it. Okay, so now I'm going to use this so I can see. I'm going to adhere this to some gold cardstock. And if you watched my my last Christmas video, my Merry Monday video, I actually made my own gold paper out of embossing powder around the edge, and you can do that too. But this is our gold cardstock, and I thought I would just use it. It's not drastically different than the color of our powder, but I don't know if you guys have, you know, what kind of embossing powders you have. So by using the technique that I showed last week, you can make it match perfectly. Okay, so now I'm going to find that background piece, and I'm going to put that right on top. And that is a really wide card base, but I like it. And that'll go right in the center. Try to center it with the dots too. Okay. So there is my second card for the night. Wow, I really, really went fast tonight. I don't have a third card planned, But let me move over to this camera and show it to you on this camera, because I don't know if you can see it better, but you can see more of the shine of the embossing powder. So that's a pretty simple card. Does old embossing powder not melt? Penny, I will answer that question. Does old embossing powder not melt? I've actually have had old embossing powder that did not function the way fresher embossing powder functions. So if you are struggling a lot with your embossing powder, it could be that it's old. Yeah, I've had it happen to me too. So let's see if there's any other questions out there. Let's see. Oh boy. Well, okay, so Gina K products in Australia. We actually have Australian craft stores that buy wholesale from us. So if you go to ginakdesigns.com and you go to the tab that says about, let me see if that's what it says. I think it says about us, and it says our retailers. There is a tab at the top that says our retailers. If you click on our retailers, you're going to be able to find retailers all over the country and in other countries, in the UK, in Australia, and in Canada, they carry our line. Okay, so what color was the background? Okay, it's good I can get to some of the questions. So the background I used was Sandy Beach, and I thought it was a really, really nice complementary color for that. Okay, so how do I undo that comment? Okay, here we go. So you could see, somebody said they could see better on the other camera, so I'll put it back onto the other camera and show you both cards again. So there's the first card, and here is that second card. Well, the first card and the second card together. All right. Wow, it's nearly 2 a.m. Marie Ann, where are you watching from that it's 2 a.m.? Okay, what is old for embossing powder? That's another great question. Well, I'll tell you that I have had my embossing powder, this one, for probably about a year. Doesn't really take much embossing powder to emboss. So, I mean, I think some people have had embossing powder in their cabinets for, 10 years, 6 years, 5 years. So the best way to tell if it's old is just to try it. And if you're not getting good results, then it might be that it's old. The dimension of the tree card. So this is an A2 card base. It is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. It's actually 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and then folded in half at 5 1/2 inches. And this is 3 inches by 4. Let me check real quick here. Yes, this is 3 by 4 white panel, and then it's 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 for the gold panel, if you guys are making this one along with us. Okay. Oh, are a lot of our mini ink cubes out of stock? I know. Well, let me give you a little update too on our shipping situation. So our ink comes from one of the states that is completely shut down, and they're not allowed to even go in at all and manufacture. So no ink is shipping right now to most of the US companies, because most of us use the same manufacturer to produce our different formulas and colors. So they are closed right now, and they cannot ship any ink. So it's a problem for us to get ink right now. And I'm sure when they come back, they're going to be so backed up. So it might be a little while. Although once we get through all of the orders that we have, we're going to take the product from our retail store and we're going to bring it downstairs and put it into our online store, because we have all the same products upstairs in our retail store. But we don't want to adjust any inventory numbers yet, because we're not 100% sure where we stand, and we don't want to disappoint people. That's so hard. Okay, well, I think I'm going to get done a little bit early tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed being here with me. I sure enjoyed being here with you tonight. I have a final quote of the evening, and this is the one that I posted on my Facebook page. If you guys are looking for a great Facebook group to join, come on over and see us at Gina K Designs and Stamp TV Friends. We have a really fun Facebook group over there. Very, very supportive. Lots of wonderful people. And also, if you're watching me on YouTube or you didn't know that I had a YouTube channel, head over to YouTube and search me. It's Gina K Designs. If you put in Gina K Designs, Stamp TV, any of those, I'll come up. And make sure you subscribe to my channel. I would love that. Okay, so my opening quote was, taking care of yourself doesn't mean me first, it means me too. My final quote for the night is, and I'm gonna put it up here so I can see it better. You, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I will be back on Wednesday with some fun Wednesday whimsy for you, and I hope you will join me then. You guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you again real soon.